Hi, my gentle spirits. I'm going live for y'all today, my gentle spirits, just because it's raining really, really hard where I am at today. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it's thundering and lightning outside. So I figured I'd take some time to sit here and talk to you all today, just for a little bit, just because, like I said, I haven't been on live in a long time. But today, I just wanted to share with you all a little bit more about. I said I wanted to talk about premenopause in a few videos I did a while ago, and just how the body sometimes as a 40-year-old woman can treat you, and it. I'm talking about like not even the hot flashes, the night sweats. I'm talking about more like the nervous system. I have been having issues where my body was itching really bad, and I was getting, it looked like, I thought it was mosquito bites because it is getting close to summer, but it was more of hives. And just the irritability behind it, and just feeling not myself, more feeling, sometimes more feeling tired and worn down. And I've always heard about menopause, but I never knew exactly what women actually went through. And I know all women are different. Some go through different things. And I was chatting with someone a few years ago, and she mentioned to me that with her menopause, she started at 38 years old. So, like I said, you just never know how the body will treat you, what you will go through. Just one thing I just wanted to share with you all, just make sure that you have a really good support system when it comes to um, premenopause and anxiety and depression, because that is so important. And I know sometimes people don't want others around them, but it is so important to share with people, how they can help you when you are going through something like that, or teaching them in advance how to help you, how to guide you through things, because that is a blessing. Like I said, when you're going through something, please, if you're coming in my chat, please give me a thumbs up. But like I said, I just wanted to share a little bit about that. And I also, like I said, I want to talk more about anxiety, y'all, because I noticed that anxiety hits people really, really hard. I know, hi, welcome in, welcome in. I noticed that anxiety hits people really hard these days. And I grew up where, we didn't talk about anxiety when I was coming up, like really didn't hear. It was very rare. But as an older adult, it was really important to talk to people about it, and just letting people know that birth, giving birth to children, that causes trauma, which triggers anxiety, whether it's then and there or later on in life. Welcome in. Hello. I'm 44, by the way. You're asking my age. Um, but yeah, so like I said, it's just so, you know, important to share with people, especially our women. Our women need to know. I probably, yeah, you're looking like my grandmother. I do have grandchildren on my own, so hey, I love everyone. But like I said, my video today, guys, I'm talking about premenopause. So if you're not in that era, if you're not in the 30ish and 40ish era, you might not want to hear what I got to say. But I'm just letting, I just want to talk about it. I want to talk about anxiety. Um, People are just going through so much, guys. And like I said, a support group is so awesome, so important. But if you're coming in and you like what I'm talking about today, just give me a thumbs up. Or if you are seeing me for the first time, please check my channel out and subscribe to my channel. Look at some of my videos before you subscribe and see if you like what I'm saying. But I just wanted to like give everybody a chance to say something about that. Like, what have your experiences been with anxiety or depression or premenopause? Stuff like that. I just like the outlook of other people And I'm just getting into this myself. Like I said, giving birth can cause trauma to the body, which can cause stress, anxiety, depression. And there's so many other triggers, but going through therapy for the first time in my life, I actually learned more about that. And that was so important to me to know what was going on with myself and, experiencing that. And just going from being a younger mother, having my first child at 18 to having another child at 37 to having another child um, later on at like 42ish. So, it's things that we need to address. It's things that we have to talk about more. And I love talking to my ladies about that. Yes, I do share things with my men as well, but specifically today, because I've been battling it lately, I really wanted to talk to my ladies out there in the world and the nation and just let me know what your experiences have been. Um, I just don't, some days I feel 100. I feel like I can run a marathon. And then some days I'm just so tired, I don't even want to get up. Like I'm like so worn out, so burnt out. And just, and it's not depression at all. Like I don't have any, thank God, I don't have any issues with depression. Mine is mostly um, anxiety, just trying to push through it and just breathe. Just and I can share this because I want my platform to be honest and real. Just last night I had for a few days I had been really itchy and I was trying to me and my doctor had discussed because it's important to always talk to your doctor, but me and my doctor had talked about because my anxiety had not been high recently, just trying to like wean down off of the milligrams of what I take each and every day. So I got to the point where I was like, okay, like I feel like I can come off. But then I went from seeing my primary care physician to going into seeing my OB the other day because, I was um I was going from feeling like really, you know, irritable, full of emotion and stuff like that to just like, you know. So my OB was thinking, okay, let's switch you to something that might help you, but no, my body didn't react like I thought it would. So I'm going back to my Yeah, it's okay, Amber Smith. It's all right. I can handle them. People that are not being nice. It's okay. I know, you get a lot of people that don't understand you, that judge you, and it's all right. You gotta just let them go, forgive them, and just look past them. And that's exactly what I'm doing. That's why I'm not even reading their comment right now. So shame on them. But anyway, back to what we were discussing. So I went back to my regular anxiety meds, and and this week coming up, I will be talking to my doctor again, about what I should do, and that's going to be my primary care, because going from your OB to your primary care, sometimes they can switch things and try to help you balance things out. Because, like I said, with premenopause, you definitely want to talk to your OB about that as a woman, but on the other side, when it comes to anxiety and stuff like that, you want to talk to your primary care. So it's just trying to meet in the middle and and like I said, and balance yourself out and balancing your household. And I am a stay-at-home mom. So, I wasn't always a stay-at-home mom. I worked all my life since I was 15 years old up until when I was in my 30s and I had my second child and my husband decided, it was best for us to me to stay at home with our children. But, you know, it's just so many, like I said, ups and downs, trials and tribulations. And that's why I say that prayer is so important when it comes to your mind, body, and spirit, and when you're battling things, because you just never know, guys. Um, like I said, last night was my first panic attack in a long time, and thank God I had already had my medicine on hand, so I was able to take that instead of going over to the emergency room. But Amber, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? Because I see you agreeing with some of the things I'm saying, so you know it's a blessing, like I said, to share with others and what you're going through, how your mind, body, and spirit feels, and Just all of that. I'm gonna try to read some of the comments that are flying on in here little by little. Okay, all right, yes. So you are definitely getting into that stage. Thank you for sharing that, Amber. But you are definitely coming into that stage where things are going to be a little here, there, and all over. And I appreciate you coming on here just to listen to what I have to say. Have you had any issues, I want to say, maybe with anxiety, or do you have anxiety, depression, or are you coming into any different symptoms with your body as a woman? You know, I used to have a women's group where, my youngest was 19, my oldest was like 70 years old. And, we got to discuss things like this. But I moved to another state. So it's not so, I don't have a women's group now where I am. So kind of like social media is like my eye opener, my platform. And I do have family I can call and speak with as well. And I still communicate with the ladies that I used to have my women's group with. But it's nothing like sitting around a bunch of women that are different ages that have experienced life. So that has been a blessing. And I just try to stay positive. I try to stay motivated myself. I just try to keep pushing each and every day, no matter what I face, because I know tomorrow is a new day. Like last night, early this morning, when I had my issue, I was like, wow, okay, but you do have those symptoms. Yeah, and I don't know if you've been to the doctor yet about it, but it's important to, make sure that you communicate with your doctor about your symptoms like that. I had been, and I've also, previously, years ago, I had, I worked in the hospital, and I thought, and if you could see on my face right there, the dot on my nose, but I had shingles at young, like I was in my 30s as well. And the doctor told me one day that she thought that it was I had a sinus infection. And so I went to go see her. She gave me medicine for a sinus infection because I was feeling really tingly and burning all over. And I was like, and I had a really bad headache at the top of my head right here. And I was talking and I was like, telling her what was going on with me because I had worked all night in the hospital and then I got off the next morning and I went to the doctor and I was telling her what was going on. She was like, "Oh, sweetie, you have a sinus infection." I was like, that's weird. I've never felt like that. And then the next morning I woke up and I had like water blisters all on this side of my face. And she was like, and I called her and I was like, "Hey, something's not right." So I went in and as soon as she saw me, she was like, "Get out, get out, get out." Not to be mean, but I had to be rushed over to the hospital because I was showing signs of shingles. So even at this age, just be careful because, like I said, I've experienced so many things. Yeah, and just make sure if you can get to the doctor, just get it checked out because, like I said, when your body triggers, you just don't know. And you can definitely your body can redevelop things back and back again. But I just pray, Amber, that, like whatever you are facing, that it gets resolved for you. And I will always say a prayer for you. God bless you and your family and your household as well. Because people don't understand it's not easy, when you're going through something and you don't really people don't understand what you're talking about. So anyway, you are welcome. Today, I am just kind of relaxing because, like I said, last night was really heavy on me, but I still have to be a mom. I still have to be a wife. So I'm just taking my little errands and, my chores lightly around the house today, kind of lounging right now. So I pray that if you all are out there in the world and the nation, you're watching me, that if you have stuff to do, just take it easy. You get done what you can do, and what you can't get done, save it for another day. Don't feel like you have to cram everything into one day. And that was one thing that I had to learn myself is, and that what was another thing that put my body into stress was that I always woke up every morning with my children and I felt like everything had to be done in that day. And I remember my husband telling me one day, he was like, you don't have to do everything in one day. It's okay. Pace yourself, take your time. And that was very um, helpful. And I appreciate his support for telling me that. And it kind of slowed me up a little bit on, okay, like if I don't get the laundry done today, then I can get it done tomorrow or the next day. Or, I don't have to push myself. And if I don't feel like fixing dinner tonight, we can improvise. It's okay. So, that's important to know and to understand as well. Just like men, they go out there each and every day and they go to work and stuff like that. And, and you, sometimes you can communicate with your partner, sometimes you can't, depend on their job. But, it's important to make sure that you communicate with your partner, your person. Okay, got diagnosed with ADHD when I was a kid, but I don't know else what I would have. Okay. Yeah, I know a few people with ADHD, and I know I have a neighbor of mine, and she seeks a lot of teas and herbs and stuff. So you might want to start reading up on that, Amber. That might help you as well, because I know that and she has children that have or that are ADHD. But I noticed that like I said, when she moved beside me, she started talking to me about herbs and, like I said, and teas. So that might help you as well. I know I was reading this morning. Hi, Juliana, or woman. Um, I was reading this morning that there's different teas out there that you can get from the local grocery store for, anxiety and ashlawana. That's another one that's good for like stress and anxiety and stuff like that, to calm the body, calm the mind. And that would be probably a good one for you too. And like I said, just read up on things, and if you have questions about it, you definitely need to talk to your doctor about it. And I'm sure that would help you. If you are, I'm sorry, guys. That was my alarm. But if you're just coming in, I'm just talking to you a little bit about anxiety and premenopause and the things that I'm going through recently. So I appreciate you all coming on there. But unfortunately, I can't stay long. My alarm's going off, and I have one task to complete for myself, for my household. Yes. Yeah, and even if you yeah, I don't smoke at all either. Every time you go to the doctor, that's one thing they say. Do you smoke? Do you do anything you know, over the counter drugs or anything like that? And I'm like, no, I never have. It's just like I said, life can trigger as a woman, and it's even as a man, life can trigger your mind, your body, and your spirit. And one thing I just keep stressing and teaching to people, because one thing I learned in therapy is, especially as a woman, giving birth can cause trauma to the body because you're going through so much, and it causes a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. And they don't talk to you about that. Like I said, they never talked to me about that as a young mom. I didn't learn about that as an older mom. I learned about that in therapy with my counselor, and she was very kind and understanding and listening to what I had to say, and and how my body was working. So that's something else that you have to keep in mind and work through as well. All right, guys, I love you all. God bless you all. I will definitely try to get back on here as soon as I can to talk to you all. But please make sure that you check out my channel, Meeka at Single to Mrs. And look at my shorts and look at my so if you look at the column of my videos, it says shorts, it says videos. I have a little bit of both. Some of my videos are a little longer from when I first started on YouTube. So you might want to check that out. It talks about a little bit about who I am and my life journey. So that will be a blessing for some of you all out there. And I hope you all enjoy. I hope if you have not subscribed to my channel, you do so. All right, you all take care of yourselves, but I gotta go, and I'll see you later. Bye.